It's the Easter joke from the senior guy. Hi, everybody. This is the senior guy once again. And, an Easter can't go by without me having to tell this joke. I've probably been telling the joke for 30 years. So I just wanted to impart that information to you so you understand why I'm telling the joke. Now, I know some people may get some upset with it a little bit, but that's the way it is and that's the way jokes are. So just let me start. It was Easter time, and there was this new priest that come over from Italy, Father Antonio. Now, Father Antonio was very, very nice and trying to blend in with the community and whatever. And again, just to digress, one of the reasons that he was here from Italy is that there is a shortage of priests who are born and raised in the United States in the Catholic Church. So you're seeing a lot of priests coming over from the Philippines, from India, from Italy, from Brazil, Nigeria, Jamaica. So you see a lot of priests in the Catholic Church that are foreign born. So in this one particular week, right before Easter, Father Antonio is walking down the road, and he sees three other immigrants that he knew that were from Italy that were digging a ditch. So he went up to the guys and he was talking with them. And he said to them, "Boys, tell me, what does Easter mean to you?" They all looked at one another. So the first one was Giuseppe. He says, "I know what Easter is." He says, "Let me tell you what Easter is." He says, "Easter, that's the time we go out, we get a nicer, bigger turkey, people come over, we have a pumpkin and a pie, we eat a nicer dinner, we watch a football on the TV." The priest is astounded. He says, "Giuseppe, what is wrong with you?" He says, "That's not an Easter, that's a Thanksgiving." He says, "You got to come to church more so you know more about the religious holidays in our church." So the second guy was there, and his name was Pasquale. And Pasquale says, I know. He says, "I know a little bit more about him than I go to church a little bit more than him." He says, "Well, Pasquale, tell me what it is." He says, "That's the time we go out, we buy a nicer, bigger tree, we take the tree, we put balls and the lights on it, we buy a gifts, we have a nicer dinner, we exchange the gifts, and it's a beautiful day." And the priest is really astounded. He says, You may go to church more than him," he said, "but you don't know more than him." He says, That's not Easter, that's a Thanksgiving. That's a Christmas." And Pasquale says, "Oh, okay." So the next guy there was the foreman. His name was Mike. And Mike says, "There's a reason I'm a foreman." He says, I'm a little bit smarter than they are." He said, "But I could tell you, I know what Easter is." So Father Antonio says, "Go right ahead." He says, "Tell me what he says." He says, "That's the time they take a Jesus of Christ and take him in front of a Pontius Pilate, and he goes to Pontius Pilate and says, 'You guilty.' They take Jesus of Christ from Pontius Pilate, they bring him out, they put him on a cross, they lay it on the ground, they go binga, 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 and they nail Jesus to the cross. They put the cross in the ground, and Jesus is there, laying out there. He says, 3 hours go by. All of a sudden, it gets dark, and it gets windy, and the ground starts to shake, and Jesus will die. They take Jesus down, and they take him in, and they bring him into, there's a bigger tomb, and they put a rock in front of a tomb. He says, they seal the tomb, and the soldiers stand guard there. He says, and Father Antonio is beaming at this. He says, "Oh my God." He says, go on. He says, "Well, that's the time." Then he says, 3 days go by. He says, 3 days go by. All of a sudden, the ground shakes, the rock rolls away, and Jesus will come out in the brilliant of sunshine. And the priest is astounded, and he's looking beaming. And then Mike goes on. He says, "And he sees his shadow be 6 or more weeks of winter." And then the priest fainted. That's the joke. Thank you. Bada boom. And have a nice Easter, everybody.